From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aylia Batool. A fringe Republican candidate is pushing an anti-Muslim march in Dearborn on November 18th, spreading false claims about Sharia law. This and more on today's show. A new national campaign is targeting President Donald Trump and the Republican Party over deep cuts to food assistance programs. The Billionaires Eat First campaign is being launched in Washington and Montgomery, Alabama. Organizers say Republicans slashed the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, and Medicaid after giving huge tax breaks to the richest Americans. Those who received tax breaks include billionaires Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. The campaign's organizers say the shutdown made things worse. Millions lost access to food benefits, while the wealth of more than 900 billionaires increased to a record $8 trillion. Campaign director Lior Tal says Trump and his allies are taking food off the table for kids, seniors, and veterans. Local leaders and families will speak at launch events. Volunteers also will deliver meals to food banks ahead of Thanksgiving. The campaign will travel to West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, New York, and Arizona in the coming days, calling the cuts cruel and wrong. Nearly 1/3 of low-income households in the United States are struggling to meet basic needs. New data from Bank of America shows that more Americans are struggling to cover basic needs like rent, fuel, and food. The study says 24% of all households now rely on their immediate income for essentials. That number is slightly higher than last year. But the biggest pressure is on lower-income earners. Bank of America found that 29% of low-income families are living paycheck to paycheck. Wages for this group have slowed sharply since early 2025. Middle and high-income households saw little change. Millennials and Gen X families are feeling the most strain. Higher-income millennials, however, saw wages rise much faster than those in lower-income brackets. Experts say the divide reflects a K-shaped economy. Big consumer companies, including fast food chains, warn that high rents, food costs, and childcare are hitting low-income households the hardest. A fringe Republican candidate is calling for an anti-Muslim march in Dearborn on November 18th, raising concern in one of America's most diverse cities. Anthony Hudson, a little-known gubernatorial hopeful, is promoting what he calls an American crusade. He falsely claims Dearborn enforces Islamic law and says he wants to ban Sharia and protect Christians. Dearborn officials deny his claims. They say the city has more churches than mosques and no laws based on religion. Hudson is using growing online hostility to target Michigan's Arab and Muslim communities. His posts accuse Dearborn of oppressing Christians. He has also mocked the city's Islamic call to prayer and threatened to stop it if elected. Police say they are aware of the planned march and will ensure safety. Community leaders warn the protest spreads bigotry and harms Dearborn's image as a model of multicultural coexistence. Analysts say Hudson is exploiting fear to gain political attention. The Justice Department has filed a lawsuit against California to stop its new congressional map. The map was approved last week by nearly 2/3 of voters under Proposition 50. Officials say the plan could help Democrats gain 5 House seats. The move has intensified the political fight between President Donald Trump and Democratic-led states. Attorney General Pam Bondi calls the map a brazen power grab. California Governor Gavin Newsom pushed the measure after Texas redrew its own districts to boost Republican chances earlier this year. The Justice Department is joining a separate lawsuit filed by the California Republican Party. The suit argues the map violates the Constitution by using race improperly in the redistricting process. The case comes as Trump works to protect Republican control of the House ahead of next year's midterms. The BBC has apologized to President Donald Trump for editing 2 lines of his January 6, 2021 speech in one of its documentaries. The broadcaster says the edit was an error, but insists it will not pay compensation. Trump's legal team has demanded a full retraction, an apology, and $1 billion in damages. The BBC says it has written back to reject the defamation claim. BBC Chair Samir Shah has also sent a personal note to the White House. He says the edit created the wrong impression about Trump's words during the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The BBC says it will not rebroadcast the documentary, Trump: A Second Chance. The apology follows a leaked memo that triggered days of pressure inside the corporation. BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnus resigned after the memo surfaced. Trump's lawyers say he must be compensated by Friday. The president often sues media outlets over coverage he disputes. Israeli settlers set fire to a mosque in the Palestinian town of Deir Istia. Villagers said the attack happened overnight. Walls, carpets, and several copies of the Quran were burned. Hateful graffiti in Hebrew was left on the mosque walls. The messages mocked recent military condemnation of settler violence. Soldiers were at the scene, but the army did not comment. This is the latest in a growing wave of Israeli settler attacks across the occupied West Bank. Rights groups say the violence is widespread and often goes unpunished. Palestinians say the goal is to push them off their land. Top officials in Israel issued rare criticism this week after Israeli settlers burned cars and property in nearby villages. But Palestinians stress that statements are not stopping the violence. UN data shows Israeli settler attacks are at record high. Displacement of Palestinians has sharply increased since Israel began its genocide in Gaza in October 2023. Israel's far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is under fire after posting videos of police raiding Arab Israeli homes. Details coming up after the break. Israeli forces shot and killed 2 Palestinian children on Thursday evening in the occupied West Bank. The incident took place in Beit Umar, a town north of Hebron. Palestinian media outlets report that soldiers opened fire on the boys and then withheld their bodies. The area was later declared a closed military zone. There are still no details about what led to the shooting. In a separate statement, the Israeli military claimed troops killed 2 armed men who tried to breach the fence of Garmei Zur settlement and threw Molotov cocktails at soldiers. Violence in the West Bank has surged since Israel's genocide in Gaza began in October 2023. Israeli soldiers and illegal Israeli settlers have killed more than 1,070 Palestinians and injured over 10,300. Last July, the International Court of Justice ruled that Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory is illegal and called for all Israeli settlements to be evacuated. Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is drawing outrage after boasting about raids on the homes of Arab Israelis. He posted videos on X showing him taking part in police operations in Lod and Ramla, appearing to take pleasure in the scenes. The footage shows Palestinian origin residents forced to lie on the floor with their hands tied and eyes covered. Women and children are visible inside the homes as forces move through the rooms. Ben-Gvir said he was touring with special forces and police to confront what he called rising crime in Arab communities. He leads the Jewish Power Party and has a long record of anti-Palestinian rhetoric. Arab Israelis, who make up about 20% of the population, say the raids reflect years of discrimination. Observers say the videos show a senior minister proudly showcasing abusive tactics against Palestinian citizens living inside Israeli territory. UK journalist Sami Hamdi says his 2-week detention in the United States was an attack on free speech and civil liberties. He returned to London on Thursday and was welcomed by family, friends, and British MP Adnan Hussain, who said journalists should never be harassed for their work. Hamdi was stopped by U.S. immigration officers on October 26th at San Francisco Airport. He was traveling on a valid visa and heading to Florida to speak at a Council on American Islamic Relations or CARE event about Israel's genocide in Gaza.
I think that one of the things that is worth noting is that I am not the first to be targeted.
U.S. authorities revoked his visa and accused him of supporting terrorism. He rejected the claim. Federal judges later said his case raised serious free speech concerns. Hamdi said other activists, including Turkish student Rumeysa Öztürk and Algerian Palestinian Mahmoud Khalil, were also detained for their advocacy on Gaza. He called it part of a wider trend aimed at silencing critics. The World Energy Outlook 2025 says Africa's energy demand is rising fast. The International Energy Agency, or IEA, warns that the continent's access and investments are not keeping pace. Africa's population is growing twice as fast as the global average. Energy demand may jump more than 50% by 2040. Yet 600 million people still have no electricity. Many more face daily outages. The report says energy use remains deeply unequal. Average consumption per person is only a fraction of the global level. Without reforms, the IEA warns the region could remain trapped in energy poverty. Meanwhile, renewables are expanding at record speed. Solar is set to provide almost 40% of new power in the next decade. North Africa, Kenya, and Namibia are emerging as clean energy hubs. But fossil fuels still dominate. The IEA says finance is the biggest barrier. Clean energy investment has dropped to about $20 billion a year. The arrests of a number of Kashmiri doctors following a bomb blast in India's capital, New Delhi, has created deep panic among Kashmiris living across India. At least 8 people were killed on Monday after a car exploded near the Red Fort landmark in the city. Many Kashmiris say they are facing profiling and harassment in the aftermath of the attack. Investigators say they are probing a possible terror module. Police have carried out multiple raids, including in parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah has urged caution. He said those behind the attack must face strict punishment. But he warned against treating every Kashmiri as a suspect. He said no religion justifies the killing of innocent people. Omar added only a small group misleads society and innocent people should not suffer. He said educated or professional backgrounds do not stop anyone from being drawn into violence. He said his government is assisting New Delhi to maintain calm and prevent tensions from rising further. Provincial elections in India's politically significant state of Bihar have delivered a sweeping win for the Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, or BJP-led National Democratic Alliance. It has also recorded the sharpest fall in Muslim representation in more than a decade. Only 11 Muslim lawmakers are set to enter the 243-member assembly. From the ruling alliance, just one Muslim candidate will represent the state, Janata Dal United's MD Zama Khan. That is despite Muslims making up nearly 18% of Bihar's population. The regional opposition Rashtriya Janata Dal will send 3 Muslim members, Asif Ahmad Usama Shahab and Faisal Rahman. The Indian National Congress will have 2 Muslims. The All India Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin has won 5 seats. The decline is stark. Bihar elected 24 Muslim legislators in 2015, then 19 in 2020. The number has now plunged to 11, raising concerns about the community's future voice in policymaking and development. The discovery of a new dental gel in England could transform tooth care. The protein-based gel helps regrow enamel, something the human body cannot do naturally. Scientists at the University of Nottingham developed the fluoride-free gel. It mimics the proteins that guide enamel growth in infancy. Dentists can apply it just like standard fluoride treatments. The research is published in Nature Communications. Experts say enamel loss drives half of all tooth problems worldwide. It leads to cavities, infections, and even links to diabetes and heart disease. The new gel fills cracks and holes in teeth, forming a thin layer that pulls calcium and phosphate from saliva. That triggers controlled regrowth of enamel through a process called mineralization. Tests show the regenerated enamel behaves like natural enamel during chewing, brushing, and exposure to acidic foods. Scientists say this could become the first real solution to restore damaged enamel and reduce long-term dental disease. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.